fever, tiredness, dry cough,
shortness of breath,
headache, throat. Coronavirus spreads primarily through droplets of saliva or discharge from the nose when an infected person coughs
or sneezes.
Please don't be scared. To prevent infection and to slow transmission of COVID-19, follow the safety precautionary measures placed by
the World Health Organization.
Wash your hands regularly with soap and water, or clean them with alcohol-based hand rubs. Maintain at least 1 meter distance between you and people coughing or sneezing. Avoid touching your face. Cover your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing. Stay home if you feel unwell. Refrain from smoking and other activities that weaken the lungs. Practice physical distancing by avoiding unnecessary travel and stay away from large groups of people. Please don't be scared of the virus. Follow the precautionary measures. Stay home, stay safe.
TV, it's another Gambian Talents Forum where we bring you prominent, important personalities in the Gambia here. And guess who we have in the studio today? It's Honorable Madi Ceesay, UDP member and also the name of Serekunda West. You're welcome, Madi Ceesay.
Thank you very much, Suka. It's my pleasure to be in your studios this afternoon.
Okay, I will allow Honorable Madi Ceesay to introduce himself.
I am Honorable Madi Ceesay, member for Serekunda West constituency on the United Democratic Party's ticket. I also double as a journalist, editor and proprietor of the Daily News, and I also serve at the Insight Training Center as a part-time lecturer in the journalism school.
Okay, that's very good. Well, right now we all know that things are very tough, not only in the Gambia but all over the world because of this COVID-19 or the coronavirus. So we want to ask you, Honorable, at what stage did you get to know about the existence of the coronavirus?
Before I get to that, I have an observation. We are about 7 of us in the room, and we are not observing the social distance, which is a meter or away apart from each other. So the studio is crowded. This is against the preventive measures of coronavirus. But to come to your question directly is really I come to know about the coronavirus, I think somewhere in December.
Okay.
Yeah, and as we all know, it started in China, in a village called Wuhan, and for me at the time, it doesn't really mean much to me because looking at the proximity of China and Gambia, I had never imagined that this virus, which is COVID-19, would be a global concern as it is today. Yep.
Okay, but then since then, since the existence of the coronavirus, because you made mention that you came to know about it in December, sorry. But then since then, did you travel outside of the country?
Unfortunately, I did not. I was supposed to travel to Belgium sometime in February, but then by February, it was already a global pandemic. As a result, my travel was cancelled, so I am lucky to be somebody who has never traveled outside the country since December. I returned from Rwanda early part of December. So, to be precise, I have not traveled outside the Gambia since then.
Okay, so is it because you were scared of the disease, or was it because you were not scheduled to travel?
The issue is I wasn't scared of the disease, but then it was a world concern because COVID-19 is real and it's really killing. As of yesterday, about 1.4 people were confirmed to have the cases, and close to 90,000 people died because of the disease. So it should be a cause of concern for everybody, and it's also, I think it's also be scary. But actually, like I said, I wasn't scheduled to travel, and even if I am scheduled to travel, well, after that, the international borders and airspaces are closed now. The world is listening to the health personnel to be able to contain and prevent the disease. And one best way of doing that is to have lockdown. That is, people should stay, unnecessary travels, even within your community, unnecessary movements should be avoided. So these are some of the reasons why I have not traveled as a member of parliament or privately.
Okay. So, and at what stage did you start practicing these social distances or the guidelines that were stated by the WHO? Is it during the moment that it got exploded, I would say, or was it during December?
No, it was during the time when it really exploded, when it became a global issue. Okay. Like I said initially, this disease was discovered in China, and for many people, especially in Africa or Gambia in particular, looking at the distance between Gambia and China, it was nothing that people really took seriously. So, and even the international community did not take it seriously. I have this opinion that if there is anybody to blame, I would blame the international community, because when it happened in China, China was just isolated. Nobody, no international organization took it seriously. As a result, it was not contained. As compared to Ebola, when Ebola came up in the sub-region, African sub-region, and it was somehow contained because the country was sealed up, and then, you know, there were a lot of activities that come around. So as a result, Ebola could not have gone outside. So when it happened in China, the international community just left China like that, as it is nobody's business. And now it has become a global business. So if there is anybody to blame, I think the international community is responsible for the widespread of the disease, because no serious step was taken until now. So I also start to observe the World Health guidelines to keep distance, wash hands, and in fact, I took it upon myself to tour my constituency for 7 good days with speaker, because I don't want to go into crowds. But we toured the 5 wards in the Serekunda West to educate and inform people about coronavirus, what steps we could have taken to really prevent it. Since the corona disease has not gone viral in the Gambia, but I am also not comfortable with the results announced to say Gambia has only 4. I'm not really comfortable with that. I think that is not the real picture.
Okay, yes. I wanted to even ask you that question, because as of now, so many Gambians don't even believe that the coronavirus exists, because we've been told to go with these guidelines, to wash our hands, make social distancing. Like you said here before, we are not practicing social distancing because Gambian mindset is that coronavirus does not exist in the Gambia, and the Ministry of Health, what they're saying is it's not the people that have it. It's not because of local transfer. It's because they came from different places, and that's the reason why we're registering different cases. So what do you have to say about that? Well,
naturally, of course, people, even if the minister didn't say that, we should all know, because the disease was not found in the Gambia. The disease was found in China. Therefore, wherever this virus should go today, it must be international. It hasn't, it's not indigenous. It hasn't originated from the Gambia. So it is the connections that people have with China. Different countries have connection with China, and they also have connection with other countries. That is how it reaches Gambia. But the route it has taken to reach Gambia is through contacts. So obviously, even if one person has come into the country with the virus, that person must have contact with other people. And those people will also have contacts with other people. That's how it will multiply. It is real. I think nobody should really doubt the existence of coronavirus, which is COVID-19. Like I said a couple of days ago, it was 1.4 million. By now, I'm sure 1.5 million is confirmed affected. And I'm sure it's close to 100,000 people are killed. And we have seen in the Gambia here, at least, one person has died, according to our health reports. But like I said, I am not really comfortable with the results we have. The simple reason is, out of 2 million people, that is Gambian people, only 128 were tested to give the results of the 4 persons that were confirmed to have the disease. So if 128 were tested and gives us a result of 4 positive, what about the 1.8 million that are not tested? So no Gambian should be comfortable with the fact that Gambia has only 4. Who knows whether the number is multiplying daily basis? Who knows it? Because we have 1.8 that are not tested, or even more. I think what the government and the ministries should do, and I'm sure they are on that, is to make it possible for many Gambians to be tested. So test kits should be abundant in the country, and test kits should be everywhere in the country. At least we have 7 administrative headquarters. You have Basse, you have Georgetown, you have Masakonko, you have Brikama, you have Kerawan, you have KMC, you have Banjul. Each of these major divisions in the country should have enough test kits so that we subject a lot of our citizens into test. It is only the test that can give you the results. By looking at me, you wouldn't know whether I have coronavirus. Yeah. And by looking at all of you, I wouldn't tell you have coronavirus. So if I'm the only one person here that has it, I have contacts with 5 of you or more of you people now. So meaning that the disease can be multiplying if people are not subjected to test. If I have it my way, test will be compulsory for every Gambian. That's the only best way we can contain the disease, because you must be able to detect the disease first to be able to control it. If you don't test, you don't know how many people have it. So it will go on and on and on. Like now, the Prime Minister of UK is under very critical condition in the intensive care unit. So you would wonder how he gets it. So the disease keeps multiplying because you are contacting somebody that you don't know his status. So I think if there is any sector that Gambia should really pump into their money, is to make sure that we have enough test kits, we have enough centers for testing, we also have enough centers for isolations. In other countries, you need also to decongest the population. The social distancing is not observed in the Gambia. Last night, I drive around town. It was like life as usual. You pass places, crowds of people. People don't care about this, the social distancing. I passed the Navik Kaspar selling station in Talinjing. There were long queues, all connected to each other, congested. I think governments really take this matter seriously. You cannot take effective measures without people putting blame on you. But I think government and the Gambian citizens should be bold enough to take good steps, even though people initially will criticize, but then in the end, you will be praised. And other steps that other countries are doing, and I think the Gambia should also do that, to decongest our prisons. We all know, you go to our detention centers, prisoners are congested. You have 560 people in small prison cells. Right now, over 54 million prisoners are released. Yes, even just to decongest to decongest the prisons. And so, if anybody walks into Mile 2 prisons, or you go to the remand wing, or you go to Johnson or Janjambore prison center, it's congested. Government should not wait until the matters blow out of proportions and they want to take steps. I think I will call on the Minister of Health to liaise with the whichever ministry is responsible of the prisons, to see how we can also decongest our prison stations and our police stations also. The police also should be very mindful of putting 5, 10, accused persons in one small cell across the country. These are measures that if we take, it will save us. If we fail to take those measures, I'm afraid it can be very serious. And what is happening in other countries cannot happen here. If it happens here, we are all dead. 900 people dying a day. Seriously. We can't contain that. If Gambia has even 200 dying a day, over 6 months we are all dead. So I think we need to be very proactive now before it is late.
Yes, and that reminds me, just last week, the people that were under quarantine, I can remember very well the person from Bangladesh who came through from Senegal to the Gambia. He was tested positive for coronavirus, but he eventually died. And the people that he came in contact with at the Medical Center in Bunung were all under quarantine at the Sunrise Hotel. And those people are now being released because they say they don't see any form of virus in their systems. Isn't that strange? Well,
no, I wouldn't consider that strange. If they are tested by medical persons and they didn't detect anything from them, then that's okay. All what I'm concerned is people should be subjected to test. I trust the quality of our materials, but what I'm not happy with is they are not sufficient. Test kits are not sufficient. Very few people can be tested at a time. Currently, we have only 2 test centers. That's not enough. Okay. We have only 2 treatment centers as well, which is also not enough. The isolation centers are 10.
And you think it's not enough?
That also is not enough. Okay. You know, it is because of the test that will result into isolation, that will also result into treatment. So if you have enough testing, then you will reproduce suspects, and suspects can be produced in numbers, and then you can increase your isolation center. So for me, the crux of the matter is we need a lot of test kits. Okay. We have seen Gambian philanthropists who are putting their money, especially the GCCI. They should really be applauded. They've raised a lot of money to put into the COVID-19 fight, and I think the ministry and the government should make best use of all those monies to avail Gambians enough test kits so that a lot of us could be subjected to tests. If we have the capacity, we can have a compulsory test. That way we'll be able to control it. And our borders also should be properly guarded. Like you said in one of your questions, all the cases that come in has come outside of the country. So therefore, yes, those borders...
That I even wanted to ask, but how did you feel when the president said in mid-March that the borders should be closed? Wasn't it too late for it to be closed?
It was too late. We acted lately. And that's why I'm calling on the government to really not continue to be acting lately. Let's have enough test kits to know our status. I don't know my status. Even if I want to be tested, we have only 2 test centers. So we need to increase that. Government should pump in all the monies that are coming. A lot of them should go into that. I know quite well that a lot of Gambians are talking about the $500 million and also another $500 million that is given by World Bank. Government should fast track the expenditure of those $500 million. Because as of last week, the minister told us in the parliament that not able to spend out of the initial $500 million. What are they waiting for when people are dying, people are infected, and the infection is going on? With less test kits, we have less, borders are not properly controlled. What is the money meant for?
Yes, so I think it says that it's been given to the Ministry of Health, the $500 million, for them to buy vehicles, to buy ventilators, to buy things that would be necessary for these patients under quarantine. So don't you think the money could be more useful for something else, maybe feeding the poor other than giving it to them?
No, I would disagree with the issue of taking the money to feed the people.
Okay.
The money is raised because of COVID-19, okay, because of the disease. The money should be spent first. The priority should be to fight the disease. Then later, cater for people who are really needing the feeding. But if you want to give priority to feeding and you leave the disease to kill all of us, who are you going to feed? It may be a very unpopular statement, but I will support the idea of spending the money first in containing and preventing the disease before starting with feeding people. What is happening currently is not a total lockdown. In fact, it's not even a lockdown. The Gambia is not under lockdown. I am here on my business. You people are here on your business. Nobody's asking you not to leave your houses. There is no curfew. All what I know as far as the Emergency Act is concerned is to limit. Government is telling people voluntarily to limit their movements. But all the shops should continue to open, and if they open, they must also respect the social distancing. 1 at a time in the shop. In the banks, maybe 5 at a time or 10 at a time in the banks. Yes. Other public places, even now Kaspa said, they should also observe that, 1 at a time. But what I see happen now is, you go to the banks, yes, they're really taking care of that. 10 at a time, 1 out, 1 in. But the Nawek Kaspa stations, It might be one in, one out, but outside there's a long queue. Then they don't care about what happened outside. So if you don't care what happened outside, they will take the disease inside your studio. So I think we should respect the social distancing, and then the money should be spent on preventive and containment of the disease, rather than giving priority to feeding people. Some people think that the initial $500 million is meant to feed people. No. If it is feeding, no money was ever raised to feed people. Before, they were not talking about the $500 million. The $500 million came about because of COVID-19.
Yeah.
So COVID-19 should be our priority. Yeah. Fight the disease first and then feed later. And as point of correction, up to last week, the minister told us not Abdalasi is spent from the $500 million that was put aside. And we further inquired where the money comes from, and the finance minister told us that they made 24 reallocations within the budget. If you remember, in December, the parliament has approved a budget of $21 billion. And ministries are allocated with monies. And they made a reallocation of those monies. Like the previous allocation is moved to another place. You relocate it. And they made 24. And 20 of the reallocations were basically on travel. Nobody is traveling now. The president is not traveling. The ministers are not traveling. The members of parliament are not traveling. The permanent secretaries are not traveling. Directors are not. Nobody is traveling. All the money is put aside for travel is what the finance minister has taken to reallocate to COVID-19 and other sectors. And it comes up to $500 million. But the minister said, up till last week, not $1 is spent from that money. And my question is, why are we not spending the money if the money is for COVID-19? And the disease is multiplying. Our borders are not properly secured. People are infiltrated. We have porous borders. Yes. Everybody will know that Gambia is porous. Yes, the main entrance points like the international airports, borders like Amdalai and others, yes, those are normal borders which are crossed. But then from one border post control to the other one, it's porous. We are told the Senegalese are coming through the, our landing site at Tangier. Yes, Tangier. So, what is happening to the money? Let's use the money to control properly our borders, because if the borders are properly controlled, we'll be saved. I was watching TFM and looking at how Senegal is going about it. Midnight, the police are out and about controlling the movement and the entrance, and they have made a lot of arrests, people coming into their country. And one of the personalities in Senegal saying that the closure and control of borders have paid dividend for them. Senegal, as big as they are, the infection is not rising. So why can't small Gambia? In fact, we are lucky because if Senegal really controlled its borders with who? Borders with Gambia, and maybe borders with Mali and other countries, then we will be safe from people coming from Mali. Nobody will come from Mali without passing Senegalese border. Yeah. So we are saved, unless our river. So I think our authorities should really pay much attention to the control of our borders.
All the security is lacking.
I don't know whether I would say it's lacking, but I would prefer to use the word inadequate. Yes. It's there, but it's not adequate. So we need to beef them up, and the frontliners and the medical team also should be there, so that people are subjected to test. In fact, in Ghana, for example, you move from one region to the other, now it's a total blockout, and then the medical teams are there. If I, for example, I want to move from KMC, before I get into West Coast, I'll be blocked at the border. That is at Lameng, the bridge. Yeah. They will have to subject me to test so that I don't carry the virus from KMC to West Coast. And West Coast also will do the same thing so that they don't come from West Coast to investors. And they will do it within regions. That's what is happening in Ghana. So why can't we do the same thing here? Really to save and contain the disease. These are some of the things that we need to put into practice if we want to save ourselves. Coronavirus is real and it's killing. Gambians cannot joke about that.
That's really interesting. Coronavirus is real and it's killing. But then, as a National Assembly member, we know that recently you have postponed your suspended. So, what do you have to say?
We did not suspend. We adjourned, sine die. Because if we suspend, that means we can meet anytime. But we are saying we cannot be in the chambers of the National Assembly. Over 60 of us. We know we have 43 elected members with 5 nominated members, making it 58. Okay. sitting in the same room with other observers. You can totally up maybe about 60 or 70 at a time. And we tell people avoid gatherings. So what kind of message are we sending? So we thought it is better to live by example, so that this house is adjourned sine die. That means.
And don't you think there are other ways of communicating or making your things like Skype or other ways of doing it other than suspending when there are a lot of issues going on right now?
Other than adjourning, I repeat, we didn't suspend, we adjourned completely.
Sorry, other than adjourning, yes.
We are very sensitive to that. That is why we rely on our standing order. The standing order is like a Bible in the parliament. We have created a special committee of members of parliament of 7. You remember the Emergency Act is saying that no group of more than 10 should sit. So we are also very mindful of that. We've set up a special committee just for COVID-19 who are continuously meeting. So we're still carrying our functions, but we delegated our functions to that 7 member of parliament, which is chaired by Honorable Mbow, and the vice is Honorable Sana Jawara, and the other members are Yakumba and Omar Dabo and Salif Jao and Sunkari Baja and the rest of them. So 7 members of parliament are continuously meeting to monitor COVID-19. So if there is a need to consult the general body, they will communicate with us. So we really didn't lose sight of that. So the parliament, I can tell you, is continuously working. Is the sitting that is really adjourned, sine die, but then we have set up a special committee that are continuously doing the monitoring.
Okay, so how, as National Assembly members, how did you get to agree on the passing down of, or passing a motion of 45 days of lockdown?
Well, you know, it's all about some agreeing, some disagreeing. When government come with a proposal of an extension of 90 days state of emergency, we looked at it very critically. We have a committee, which is the committee, how to call it? It's a standing committee on human rights and, no, not human rights. I guess it's human rights and constitutional matters. I can't fully remember which of the committees, but then we refer it to them to further scrutinize it and come up with recommendations. So at that small meeting, they agreed that 45 days is enough rather than giving a whole 90 days. And when it was on the floor of the chambers, because we delegated the responsibility, they have to report to us, and then we all agreed that it's a good move, that 90 days is too long, but we can give them 45 days with observations. That's why the special committee is there to observe what government is doing within these 45 days. And Maki, we also have the powers to revoke the 45 days if we feel necessary. So it's not a blanket right that we've given to them that go on 45 days. If we feel it is not necessary at any point in time, the parliament can reconvene and revoke the extension of the 45 days. But we felt it is really a necessity for a state of emergency. But Gambians, I think, do not understand a state of emergency and a curfew. Initially, when it was announced, I understand police were going around asking some shopkeepers to shut down, which is not correct. In the Gambia, as far as I can remember, I have witnessed, I think, 2 state of emergencies. In 1981, when there was a coup attempt, and led by the late Kukwe Sambasanyang, government declared a state of emergency. And that state of emergency went together with a curfew. That is, people were only allowed to go out from 6 in the morning to 8 p.m. and nobody should go out. Everybody is under a lockdown after that. And 94 also, when there was a coup, there was a state of emergency also with a curfew. So because we have heard, and I'm sure most of you in this studio have never heard of a state of emergency without a curfew. If you have even had any, I don't know 94 whether all of you were big enough to witness that. But then, so Gambians are used to state of emergencies and curfew. So when this state of emergency was announced, people thought it was a curfew. Then the police started going around asking shopkeepers to shut down. No, we have a state of emergency. That is to give some powers to the president so that they will not go through certain procedures if they want to regulate. And in doing the regulations, some of our basic rights would have to be restrained due to the nature of the state of affairs. We have a virus which is killing, so we need a state of emergency so that the president can act without coming to the parliament to put some regulations on that. That's the essence of state of emergency. But it doesn't mean that it is a curfew. Everybody should go around about your business, but we should avoid gatherings. That's why major markets, open markets, are all closed permanently, and our traditional markets are closed from open from 6 to 2 p.m. And then at 2 p.m. markets should also be closed. These are all measures to avoid gatherings. Those were ceremonies are also limited to 10 persons. So these are all methods of preventing the disease, because you can only get the disease when there are interactions. So Gambians should not lose sight that all these are in the interest of the Gambian people. But it's not a curfew. People should go about their businesses. And one point is very misunderstood. They're saying in the market, when you are not selling non-food item, you should shut your shop. You cannot open within 2 a.m. and 6 a.m. and 2 p.m. But if you are outside of 100 meters within the radius, 100 meters within the radius of the market also, if you are not selling food, like for example, you are selling just gadgets like cameras, television sets, or fogajai and things like that, or makeups, you should shut your shop. 100 meters within the radius of markets, all markets for that matter, whether it's Basel market or it's Banjo Albert market, it's all markets. And then outside, 100 meters outside the market, if you have your fogajai shop, you can open. If you have your carpentry shop, you can open. Those shops should not open. The shops that are allowed to shut within the market, outside 100 meters, they should not shut down. So this should be clear to all Gambians that if you are selling a non-food item and you are 100 meters outside the market, no police officer should ask you to shut down. If they ask you to shut down, refer them to the regulations. Okay. That is the rules that is regulating the state of emergency. So these are things that we have told the Minister of Justice to link up with the Minister of Information, so that a lot of enlightenment should go in this area, because people don't understand it. So the police themselves don't understand it. Initially, they are going after shopkeepers, ask them to shut down their shops. No. The regulation also is saying that to avoid crowds, vehicles should carry half of their passengers. And mosques and churches should be shut down. You see, some are arguing that it's not mentioned in regulation. No, it's not necessary to be mentioned. Once the regulation says that no group more than 10, well, obviously, our churches are more than that. Yes, definitely. But then some scholars are also arguing that if we can allow social distancing in workplaces and other places, why can't we also allow social distancing in our mosque and worshiping areas? That is to leave one, is it meter away or so? Or if the capacity of a mosque is 100, then you limit it to 50. But the chances of that crowd passing through the door is there. Even the Holy Kaaba is shut. So I think this is an emergency situation. It's a very serious virus that is killing people globally and even nationally. So therefore, we should just be careful and then exercise a little bit of patience. Yes,
so therefore we should be careful and exercise a little bit of patience. It's Gambian Talents Forum, and I am your presenter Ceesay Udp with Honorable Madi Ceesay here in our studio, and we are very glad to have you. So what happens after the 45 days? What if the government is not able to provide any form of support to its people? What happens after the 45 days lockdown?
The National Assembly and members of the Parliament, who are people's representatives, are very interested in the case. That's why we have our special committee. And the special committee is really monitoring every day of the 45 days. And if we go to the end of the first 45 days and the disease still persists, I can foresee an extension with a stricter regulations. If the disease is in other way declines, which we are all praying for, then it may not be necessary to have extended the 45 days. So this is the balance now. Well, let's all pray that the disease does not escalate, so that at the end of the first 45 days, there will be no need to extend. But if, I don't pray, but if the disease accelerates and then more and more people are infected and more people are dying, then the 45 days will be extended, and then stricter regulations will follow, probably lockdown. Now, if we reach a stage where there is lockdown, that is where your earlier question would have an answer. Okay. Then, if you lock people down, you must give them food. Yes. You cannot ask me to stay in my house throughout, and you are not giving me food. So if we reach that level, then there will be packages of food to be delivered to every household, because we cannot shut ourselves down and then government not providing. So really that's the second phase if it got worse, but I don't pray that it reaches that point. But as it is now, the priority is not to feed, the priority is to prevent and contain the disease.
So as a UDP member, did you actually vote in for the 90 days on camp or 45 days?
Well, it doesn't matter now whether you are APRC, GDC or UDP, the House has decided that it's 45. So it is a collective responsibility of every member of parliament, whether you dissent or not. Once a parliament passes a decision, it becomes our collective responsibility. It will be fruitless and it will be meaningless for me to tell you that no, I didn't vote, or no, yes, I vote. It is a decision of the parliament, and I'm part of the parliament. So it's a decision of all the members of parliament. Nobody can get him or herself out of that.
Okay, and since the outbreak of this coronavirus, a lot of things have been going on, and the Ministry of Education even went to an extent of bringing e-learning, meaning where children are supposed to sit at home and watch their TVs and learn. So what is your suggestion towards it? Because we've been seeing our children roaming about when it's actually time for them to sit at home and be monitored by teachers to learn, using the radio or the television. So do you think that is a good move from the Ministry of Education?
Well, the move is good,
yes,
but the facilities are not there. Go to a remote village like Prayer in the URR. They don't have electricity. How would you expect the kids there to watch the TV and follow the learning? Go to another village. Is there enough videos for them to follow? The move is good, but it's favoring only a sector of the country. That is people who are living in the greater Banjul area and some other habitations where you have electricity. But even some habitations have electricity, but they don't have the money to have their TV sets. So it's a good move, but it is not adequate because not everybody will benefit him or herself from that facility. Even in the greater Banjul area where you have most of these facilities, like you rightly said, our children are not making use of it. So I think the ministry should come up with another measure. I'm not saying it's bad. Some people are benefiting from it, but it's not being maximized. And the facility does not reach at every corner of this country. Go to Naule in the Badibus. Go to Sutukoba in the URR. Go to the Kenebas in the Kiangs, and go to the Sanquest in the Jaras. Or you go to nowadays somewhere else. They don't have the facilities. It's a good move, but then our children cannot make use of that. I don't know what method government is going to come up, but then it is a pandemic that is affecting every life. So that is one way of affecting our children's life of education. So I think, like I said earlier on, we just have to have a little bit patience, and we pray that this thing is over as soon as possible, so that life can go to normal. Our children can go to school, we can go to our normal workplaces, and we can run after our businesses as usual. But as it is now, every life is affected in the Gambia.
Okay, but then I still have to ask this question. Did the UDP members, because in the National Assembly we all know that UDP members are more in the National Assembly. So did the UDP members actually circles about the 90 days of extension? Did they circles about it?
What do you mean by circles about it?
Did they circles about it?
Like I said, here partisan issues are not important. UDP members are more in the parliament. We have like 24 members, 23 members in the parliament. The biggest member of parliament is from UDP.
Yes.
And but even those with the least number, the PPP, relate to. What matters here is the parliament has taken a decision, and it's all of us, all parties together, took a firm decision, and we all spoke the same language. So it doesn't matter where UDP's position was. It's not significant to me because this is a national issue. It's not partisan. We just view it from that point of view. So party politics has no space in this.
Okay, and just recently Ceesay Sonko, the chairman of Brikama Area Council, who was a UDP member, was suspended because he got involved in the movement of President Barrow, or in NDP, that is the president's party. So he was suspended. Do you think the UDP members are just trying to sabotage what President Barrow is trying to do to fight against the COVID-19, or what is the reason behind his suspension?
We did not suspend Chairman Sonko. We expelled him from our party.
Okay.
The United Democratic Party really expelled Chairman Ceesay Sonko from our party because he is not working in the interest of our party. As a result, because he got his election on the ticket of the United Democratic Party, if he is not subscribing to the party's policies and principles, the party has all rights to expel him. And also to remind you, this same Ceesay Sonko was on public gallery, or on public view, on a platform. He said he is not UDP's chairperson, he is President Adama Barrow's chairperson.
Okay.
And we all know the local government elections, like the parliamentary elections, were conducted on partisan tickets. And he didn't stood on any other party's ticket other than the United Democratic Party. So if an elected member of who was elected on a ticket of the United Democratic Party can stand in public and say he is not the UDP's chairman, he is President Barrow's chairman, I think to be fair with the United Democratic Party, we have all rights to expel him. And that's what we did. And anybody who acts the way he acts will be expelled. Because the elected persons did not elect themselves. It's the people who give collectively their votes to the person and he becomes who he is. For example, I am voted on the United Democratic Party's tickets to sit on the Serekunda West constituency's chair in the parliament. Not on any other partisan ticket. No other party has given me their vote. So I have to be cognizant of that party. So if I no longer believe in that party, I think the honorable thing that I should do is to resign from the party before the party expels me. So Ceesay Sonko is expelled and not suspended. He's no longer a member of the United Democratic Party, and the Local Government Act, Amendment Section 19, stipulates clearly that if you are elected on any party's ticket and you cease to be a member of that party, you also cease to be a member of the council. So as we speak, Ceesay is not the chairperson of Brikama Area Council because he ceases to be a member of the United Democratic Party on whose ticket he got to that position, with two other councillors.
That's clear. Yeah, Ceesay is not suspended. He's actually
Expelled
from the
party.
UDP.
Yes.
And yeah, last month, President Barrow invited some elders from URR, where he mentioned that what he did, even if you should add Barrow, Jawara's, the late Jawara and Yaya Jammeh's time, if you should combine all of those, which will actually make it like 50 years, what he did, those people did not even do half of it. So what do you have to say about that, Honorable?
I totally disagree, and I think he is just misleading the people. That statement is totally false.
Okay.
Adama Barrow's 3 years cannot be compared to 27 years. Cannot be compared to the 30 years of President Jawara and not to the 22 years of Adama Barrow. That's totally misleading statement. I think politicians should be honest to themselves and speak the truth. What has he done? Let him tell us, what has he done? The only project that President Adama Barrow has launched here, and if that project successfully go through, will be his credit. That is the roads and the bridges that are being constructed in URR. That is his project. And nobody can take that from him. That credit should go to him. But when he goes to Basse, he drives on a highway from Banjul up to Basse. Is that his road? When he goes to Basse, there's a health center there. Is that his health project? How many other hospitals has he passed? Is that his project? The Senegambia bridge he's bragging, that when they were initiating that bridge, he wasn't born. President Barrow is just a 65-year-old, 1965 born. That bridge was initiated since in the early 60s, 62, when the late President Jawara and the late President Senghor of Senegal signed a contract to build that bridge. And that project goes on and on and on. But to cut a long story short, when finally the bridge foundation stone was being laid, was it laid by him or his vice president? That project foundation stone was led by the former vice president Asatu Njai Sedi under Jammeh's regime. How can he take that credit? You come to Sukuta Jabang Road, that he bragged that it's his project. We all know that is totally false. When that project also was being laid, it was not by him. Adama Barrow should tell the Gambians the truth and stop misleading. That statement is very fraudulent and misleading.
So definitely, the president should stop misleading people. It's
Very well.
Gambian Talents Forum, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Here with me, Honorable Madi Ceesay. And lastly, we've been seeing important people in the Gambia doing a push-up challenge. Especially the UDP leader, Lawyer Dabo, Mama Kande, and a lot of people are doing this push-up challenge. Did you consider doing it, or did you do it?
I did it. I did 25.
Really?
I can show the video when I'm done. It's in my phone.
Wow.
I did 25, yes.
So why the push-up challenge?
Well, these are, you know, we are not on the total lockdown, and in Europe, if you're watching the TV, they are on the total lockup, and exercise is important. So people are doing all forms of exercises in their rooms. Some were jumping. I saw somebody in UK who lives in a story building, and he spends 6 hours a day climbing up and down.
Wow.
And over 2 weeks, he was able to conquer the highest mountain in the world, Mount Everest.
Wow.
So those are just exercises, and then some are doing press-ups, some are doing other things. So the reason behind it is just because people are partially on the lockdown and we need exercise. You don't need to eat and drink and sit down. So I also felt yesterday that I shouldn't only eat and drink my attire and sit down. So I did a push-up.
Yes, and I also think Lawyer Dabo even took the challenge to also sensitize people on the issue of the coronavirus. After his push-up, he also mentioned that coronavirus is real and the people should really be careful. So, Honorable Ceesay, can you please give us your last message?
Well, I want to commend all the political leaders in this country as far as COVID-19 is concerned. If there is anything that unifies the entire political divisions in this country, is COVID-19. Everybody is speaking the same language. President Adama Barrow is speaking the same language with His Excellency Lawyer Ceesay Dabo is speaking the same language with His Excellency Mama Kande is speaking the same language with His Excellency Ahmad Ba and other political parties, the PPP, Excellency Bakari Bunja Dabo, everybody, the Citizen Alliance, the GAP, well, everybody is speaking the same language. I really commend the politicians for speaking the same thing, and I think COVID-19 has really succeeded in uniting us as far as that point is concerned. But that is held. When it comes to partisan politics, we are different. We all have our own way to go. But for now, let's put all partisan politics down and fight the disease. Otherwise, we don't have the capacity and the energy to exercise our political activities if we are all, you know, infected with the virus. Right now, the Prime Minister of UK is in critical condition in the hospital. He can't be politically active now. So I think first and foremost we should just fight the disease collectively, and by way of sensitizing the people, and if we have our monies, we put in our money, but we must also look closely on the monies that are raised on behalf of COVID so that governments spend it on the right things that they are raised for.
Thank you very much. As you all had Honorable Madi Ceesay, we should all put politics aside and try to help this COVID-19. Make sure we wash our hands, do all the precautionary measures that were recommended by the WHO, and we are very honored to have you today in our show. Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
We now come to the end of the Gambian Talents Forum.
Thank you.
Till we come your way next time, and I am your presenter, Ceesay Of Udp.
Thank you. You did brilliantly good. It's good. Yes, excellent. Brilliant. I'm really happy. I'm really very happy.
Coronavirus exists. Coronavirus is a disease that
Attacks the respiratory system.
the symptoms of COVID-19 are fever, tiredness, dry cough,
Shortness of breath.
headache, sore throat. Coronavirus spreads primarily through droplets of saliva or discharge from the nose when an infected person coughs
Or sneezes.
Please don't be scared. To prevent infection and to slow transmission of COVID-19, follow the safety precautionary measures placed by
The World Health Organization.
wash your hands regularly with soap and water or clean them with alcohol-based hand rubs. Maintain at least 1 meter distance between you and people coughing or sneezing. Avoid touching your face. Cover your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing. Stay home if you feel unwell. Refrain from smoking and other activities that
Weaken the lungs.
practice physical distancing by avoiding unnecessary travel and stay away from large group of people. Please don't be scared of the virus. Follow the precautionary measures. Stay home, stay safe.